If you have type O positive blood, there is a piece of your DNA that is technically broken. Not evolved, not upgraded. Broken. One single letter of your genetic code is missing, and that one deletion is the actual reason your blood type exists at all. Not a superpower, not an ancient bloodline passed down from the first humans on Earth. A mistake, one that, against one of the deadliest diseases in human history, turned out to be exactly what your ancestors needed. Today we open up what that missing letter really does inside your body right now, what it protects you from, what it costs you in return, and why almost everything going viral about this online is wrong. Every red blood cell in your body is covered in molecular tags, a surface signature your immune system reads constantly to tell friend from foe. That signature starts with a base structure called the H antigen. Think of it as an unfinished platform. If you're type A, an enzyme attaches one sugar to that platform. Type B, a different sugar. Type AB, both. If you're type O, the enzyme was never built. Why not? Because in the most common version of the O gene, a single DNA letter is missing, just one. And since your cells read DNA in precise three-letter groups, deleting even one letter scrambles everything written after it. The instructions collapse. The enzyme comes out broken, unfinished, useless. So the platform stays bare, unlabeled, the rawest version of blood that exists, not because it's original, but because something broke and stayed broken. That's the secret, not power, absence. Which raises the real question. If it's broken, why does over a third of the entire human species carry it? Before we go further, one correction the internet keeps getting wrong. O positive isn't one mystery. It's two, stapled together. The O comes from a gene on chromosome 9, the broken enzyme we just described. The positive comes from a completely different gene, on a completely different chromosome that has nothing to do with sugar tags at all. It simply marks whether your cells carry a protein called RHD. Different genes, different systems, different stories. Everything you're about to hear, the diseases, the trade-offs, the survival advantage, belongs to the O, not the positive. Keep that in mind because by the end of this video, that distinction is going to matter more than you think. To understand why a broken gene became the most common blood type on the planet, you have to meet the deadliest force in human history. Not war, not famine. A parasite invisible to the naked eye. Malaria. Here's what most people never learn about how it actually kills. Plasmodium falciparum doesn't just infect a blood cell, it hijacks it, pushing a sticky protein through the cell wall like a grappling hook. That hook grabs onto nearby healthy cells, dragging them together into a cluster called a rosette. Rosettes are why severe malaria kills. They jam the smallest blood vessels in the brain and vital organs, cutting off circulation, triggering the organ failure that makes this disease so devastating in children. But that grappling hook was built to grab the sugar tags on type A and B cells. On the bare, stripped surface of type O blood, it finds almost nothing to hold on to. The rosette falls apart before it forms. Researchers studying children in malaria-endemic regions of West Africa found something remarkable. Those with type O blood were dramatically less likely to develop the severe, life-threatening form of the disease. The broken gene wasn't a defect there, it was armor. Multiply that across thousands of generations against a disease that has killed more humans than almost anything else in history, and a broken blood type quietly becomes the most common one alive. Not because it was designed to win, because against one enemy, it simply couldn't lose the same way. Nothing in biology is free, and the price of that shield is written into the exact same bare surface that built it. What happens when that same exposed surface meets a different enemy? Travel to the river deltas of South Asia, regions that have suffered some of history's worst cholera epidemics, and the story reverses completely. Cholera toxin doesn't attack blood cells. It attacks your intestinal lining, and it has more than one way of gripping onto a cell. One of its secondary grip points fits the exact same bare H antigen that made type O resistant to malaria. For type A or B blood, the extra sugar tags block that grip. For type O, the door is wide open. The toxin locks on faster, floods the cell with a signal that never shuts off, and triggers the catastrophic dehydration that makes cholera one of the fastest killers in medicine. Same molecule, same missing piece, protection against one enemy, exposure to another, precise enough that populations in cholera-heavy regions have historically carried noticeably lower rates of type O blood, the vulnerable inheritance quietly filtered out, generation after generation. The trade-off doesn't stop there. A corkscrew-shaped bacterium called H. pylori uses a docking protein with the same preference. People with type O blood carry a measurably higher lifetime risk of ulcers than people with A or B. One broken gene, 3 diseases, protection from 1, vulnerability to 2. This isn't internet folklore, it's published epidemiology, and it's exactly the kind of trade-off evolutionary biology sees over and over. Nature never hands you a gift without also handing you a bill. In 1952, a hospital in what was then called Bombay tested a patient's blood. It came back type O. Standard procedure. They transfused type O blood. The patient's body attacked it violently. How does type O reject type O? The answer, this patient didn't have the bare platform either. Not a stripped-down version, like none at all. 2 separate genes control whether that foundation gets built in the first place, and in an extraordinarily small number of people, both come back broken. On a standard test, it looks exactly like O because there's no A and no B. Underneath, it's something else entirely. It's called the Bombay phenotype. These individuals can only ever receive blood from one another, roughly 1 in a million people worldwide, climbing to around 1 in 10,000 in parts of South Asia. Even inside something as seemingly simple as a single letter, O positive, there are layers modern medicine is still learning to read. Not every consequence of that broken gene works against you. 2 proteins govern how easily your blood clots, von Willebrand factor and factor VIII. In type A or B blood, sugar tags protect these proteins from being cleared out of circulation. In type O blood, there's nothing protecting them. The liver clears them roughly 1/4 to 1/3 faster. Lower clotting factor levels mean a measurably lower lifetime risk of the blood clots behind strokes, heart attacks, and pulmonary embolism. Large population studies have also found a lower relative risk of pancreatic cancer in type O carriers. The exact mechanism is still being studied, so treat that one as promising, not proven. Same broken gene, same missing piece, quietly working in your favor this time. Here's where the viral version of this story falls apart completely. Is type O really the original blood type? The ancient blueprint everything else descended from? No. And the real explanation is more interesting than the myth. In some indigenous communities of the Americas, nearly everyone carries type O blood. Online, that gets sold as proof of a pure, ancient bloodline. The actual genetics point somewhere else. A founder effect. A small, isolated founding population happened to carry mostly O, and in a small population, genetic drift locks that pattern in for every generation that follows. It's not a crown passed down from the first humans. It's a demographic accident, preserved by isolation. And the deeper genetic research on our primate relatives shows the functional, tag-building genes are actually the ancient ones, not the broken one. Type O didn't come first. It came from loss independently more than once in different populations at different times. One more thing while we're clearing the record. Your blood type doesn't decide your personality, and it doesn't require its own diet. Every version of that claim has been tested, and none of it holds up under actual clinical review. The internet loves a story about ancient bloodlines. The real science tells a better one. Not a superpower inherited from the beginning, but a fragile, broken gene that turned out against one of history's deadliest enemies to be exactly enough. Here's what should stop you. 1 deleted letter in 1 gene, on 1 chromosome. And from that single break comes a cascade precise enough to help decide who survives a malaria epidemic, who survives a cholera outbreak, who carries a lower risk of a blood clot or a pancreatic tumor. That isn't chaos. That's a body so intricately built that even its failures follow patterns. I will praise thee, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are thy works, and that my soul knoweth right well. We live in a fallen world. Genes break. Diseases are real, and they have taken real lives throughout history. Nothing here pretends otherwise. But even inside the brokenness, there's a level of design exact enough that entire branches of medicine exist just to keep discovering it, 1 gene at a time. It is the glory of God to conceal a thing, but the honor of kings is to search out a matter. You don't need a viral video to tell you your blood is special. You need the truth. And once you actually look at it, the truth is more amazing than the myth ever was. So the next time you see the letter O and a plus sign on a medical chart, you'll know what's actually written there. Not a superpower. A broken gene that, against one of history's deadliest enemies, turned out to be exactly strong enough. But here's the paradox nobody's explained yet. That plus sign, the part we said barely mattered to the story, is about to matter more than everything else combined. Because the moment you flip it to negative, you get the single most demanded blood type in every hospital on Earth. A blood type that can be given to almost anyone in an emergency from a person who, in turn, can safely receive blood from almost no one. That contradiction, and the immune reaction powerful enough to explain it, is exactly where we're going next.